Teachers' Voices.
As vozes do professor.
أصوات المعلمون.
La voix des enseignants.
Bien. Professores. Teachers' Voices.
Welcome to a special episode of Teachers' Voices. As it's the last episode of the year, I want to take this opportunity to express my deep gratitude to the educators and researchers from a variety of locations and cultural traditions around the world who have so generously contributed to Teachers' Voices, sharing their experiences and stories. For this episode, I have stayed at home and I am recording from my own small living room. Decorated with a few candles and poinsettias, I am sitting with a cup of cinnamon tea next to Indy, my black Labrador, on our cozy and warm couch next to a big window that lets us look on the outside world. At this time of the year, when many gather with family and friends to celebrate, I'd like to focus on the most human parts of some of our teacher stories. Educators often think about their role in communities and in society. What does it take to leave a long-lasting positive impact on the lives of children and the adults they will become? In previous episodes, researchers and teachers talked about the need to educate children in ways that are connected to their lives, connecting with their families and communities, with their cultural and linguistic backgrounds, their individual emotional and cognitive needs. We also explored developing children's learning capacities through playful learning. We first hear from Nadia Lopez, an award-winning educator from New York in the Bronx, where she used to be a school principal and teacher, supporting and motivating students that had been left behind. Nadia is now an educational leader oriented to social transformation, offering personal development training for educators.
As a teacher and then later becoming a leader, we have to redefine what education looks like in our schools. And we need to make learning accessible in a way that it actually connects to children's lives. But if it doesn't directly connect, how can we make those connections and be intentional about that? But then also providing them with the tools that they need. And that's really the work of a teacher. But unfortunately, sometimes we're limited because of all of the assessments that happen. And so I was willing to take that risk because it wasn't aligned to the curriculum per se, where it was preparing them for a test. I was preparing them for their future, because what they were learning in that moment, they could apply this to any aspect of their lives moving forward.
In our episode about teaching under adverse conditions, Nadia shared an inspiring story about a student who recognized the impact that Nadia's work had in his life. This illustrates the positive transformation that a teacher's recognition of a student's individual potential can have in the life of a young person.
The long-standing impact that teachers have is that we do things that we're passionate about, but from our heart, we pour into the lives of children, not knowing where that will lead. And we wouldn't often get the opportunity of hearing a child tell us how we've changed their lives. But in this particular case, I think that it was needed for both sides, because there are days that I don't know whether or not what I'm doing is making a difference. But for him and his situation, it really changed his future.
Nadia's motivation to make a difference through education is what makes teachers agents of social change and transformation, as UNESCO recognizes. We also heard examples of powerful motivation from José Luis, working in Singapore with teenagers, and from Pamela, teaching primary school children in the outskirts of Johannesburg in South Africa.
So, Mina, I think teaching is important to me, as I've always wanted to make a difference. I love my job and I love imparting knowledge to young children to make them feel good about themselves. I also believe that teaching is not only about the academics. I'm very passionate about giving and helping children gain skills in developing socially, building their self-esteem, and having a positive outlook towards school and towards life in general.
What I love about being a teacher, the relation with the students, and how I can change a life by using the language as a tool. No, the language, I use the language, I use my passion for the language, I use my love for Spanish, but what I really do is I create relations.
We now move to the Middle East. Diana works at a UN school in the Gaza Strip. She's a tireless, motivated teacher who leaves an important mark in her students' lives. Diana believes there is a need to keep other teachers motivated and trained, particularly in challenging contexts. Paying attention to teachers and making their needs visible is key in education, but teachers have gone through tough times during COVID pandemic, particularly in parts of the world like Gaza.
At the school, we said no children left behind. But here in Gaza, what happened in COVID-19, we want no teacher left behind because of the inexperienced teacher in technology. The key of the success of any educational experience, it is the teacher. We should focus on the teacher. If we have motivated, creative teachers, all of these criteria and characteristics will be reflected on their students. For example, I know my colleagues, she has a calm voice, and also her students have calm voice. Other colleagues have a very high, loud voice, so her students become like her. So you are a role model. You should be a role model in all of the aspects to your students, and you should take care of yourself and your attitude as well.
Diana also highlights that educators need other educators. This aligns with the philosophy of this podcast, and the teachers I speak to point this out constantly.
I have a community of a practice of teacher. We support each other. For example, if I watch a webinar, I summarize it and send it to them. So when you have teacher-to-teacher support, it's one of the most effective things and helpful things for the teachers in this time.
As Diana suggests, the pandemic has heightened the need for connection and support between teachers. Teachers trust teachers. They need to reach out and connect with each other to interrogate the meaning of the work. In a suburb near Abuja, the capital of Nigeria, Olasunkanmi, a highly motivated award-winning teacher, shared stories about his teaching practice in a secondary school. Olasunkanmi also advocates for collaboration among educators. During the pandemic, he created a digital platform, teachersx.org, and he invites us to create communities of practice that could allow for the creation of enriching connections and support.
What lockdown was able to give to me as a gift, I would like to share that with you. Our teachers gathered and then we bring ideas together. Teachersx.org is like what we have on LinkedIn or other social media, but basically now for teachers. And we are targeting about 5 million teachers in the world.
Before closing this episode, let's hear the heartwarming feedback of a few teachers about this podcast. Mark from Australia likes the dialogue between research and practice that Teachers' Voices supports.
Yeah, it's always a good topic to get stuck into with other educators and try to understand what is the purpose of teaching, I think, and also what we can learn from each other.
Rocío from Argentina and Patricia from Mexico both enjoy the huge variety of teachers' voices that we have been able to gather.
Thank you very much. I think it's a great thing that teachers can have the possibility to listen to teachers from other parts of the world.
It's amazing to listen to all the different stories from teachers around the world trying to make better education worldwide.
I want to finish this episode with a big thanks to you, dear listener, wherever you are listening from. When you listen and share teachers' voices, you are helping us build a global audience, bringing this podcast to other people interested in education. Teachers' Voices is produced with the support of Bold. If you are enjoying this series, you will probably like other content about learning and development on bolt.expert.
Lehrerstimmen.
Voces de profesores. Teachers' voices.